After Sanji fighting Venus Juro, many people believe Zoro just lost his opponent, but the reason this is not the truth because Venus versus Zoro is bigger than them fighting, and I'll explain a bit about this, with ties to Ryuma and even deeper when it comes to Wano during the Void Century and after the reveal of Shimotsuki Kozaburo during Zoro's mini flashback in Wano, and even going to Zoro's teacher Koshiro, who's also a Shimotsuki, and ties to Ryuma, and then he goes even deeper with Kuena, who passed away, who's actually a direct descendant of Ryuma. This is crazy because we all know that the relations of Zoro and Ryuma and how they look similar and how they're actually related because all these guys in Zoro's East Blue Town were actually from Wano. Yes, that is the truth that was real during Wano. So I just want to tell you guys one thing. I truly believe Shimotsuki is a D family that's yet to be revealed, that fought Venus Juro during the Void Century alongside Joy Boy. We all know the connection of Joy Boy and Luffy, and now makes Luffy and Zoro's connection even stronger. So today's video, you guys all see the title, from Ryuma to Wano to Venus Juro to Zoro to even Sanji now. This whole connection is so complicated and it needs to be, of course, discussed. Now, the first time we see Venus Juro actually do a statement of some sort was early on. This is before chapter 300, this is chapter 233, when he says we need to find a new warlord to replace Crocodile. Now, you have to understand, the warlords are always going to be connected to swordsmanship, is because the world's greatest swordsman was a part of this group. A man who's worth 3.5 billion berry bounty right now, higher than Luffy and Bucky, two Yonkus currently, was a part of the Warlords group. Then we go, of course, during the Enies Lobby Water 7 arc, in which he replies to Spondam about like how pretty much he says you talk big, but actions speak louder than words. And we saw how quick he was to action during Egghead Island. So we finally found out something about Venus Juro early on, is that he does not care about all those planning and everything. Show what you can do. Again, the next time we see Venus Juro actually talking, he's talking about filling in the 3 empty spots of the Shichibukai, of course, after the Marineford War. This again, it makes me think about Mihawk, because Mihawk is still a warlord. It's like he's always focused on that warlord position. We know Mihawk, he doesn't have ties to Wano yet, but there's probably going to be some ties that have yet to be discovered. You can't become the world's greatest swordsman and never enter Wano. That I just cannot believe. Then we see all the Gorosei talking, but Venus is just polishing his sword. Don't forget, he's the only one not wearing a suit as well. This guy seemingly goes about things his own way, and we've seen it time and time again, and this is just another example. And when the Gorosei are discussing Luffy and Blackbeard, the talk makes him think of the D. Like of course, Portgas saying that name at this point is too exposed, and I just think there's got to be a legendary Willow D swordsman. There has to be from the Void Century, and it could be a Rogers descendant, it could be a Gold D who was a crazy swordsman that fought Venus Juro, or it could be what I actually think it's gonna be. But before we dive into that, let's just talk about also how when Akainu, the fleet admiral, who's the top of the Marines, is talking to the Gorosei, and he tells Akainu the Marines are just the outward face. And it makes me think that you look back on Mihawk. I know I keep on bringing up Mihawk, but I think Mihawk is the greatest swordsman, so he has to be brought up when it comes to Venus Juro. Mihawk was known as the Marine Hunter. So I think it's very cool how the Marines are being downplayed by characters like Mihawk and characters like Venus Juro. And when he finds out that Luffy took down Doflamingo, he says that damn boy, he hates Luffy. And honestly, I think this is deep, because when he does see Luffy, like we see him in Ekaran, but when he sees Luffy again and they're actually going at it and everything, I can see Zoro coming in to protect Luffy because of the anger that Venus Juro has, and tells him that he's not worthy of going after his captain like Zoro has done time and time again in the story. And then I want to talk about how when Mihawk's rival, Red Hair Shanks, pulls up, of course, he says to Shanks, why would you come all this way? The way he's talking to Shanks and Akainu, like, this guy just talks like he doesn't give a damn, and definitely seemingly has ties to Wano when it comes to how that Wano energy is. We saw with Kuzuki Oden. And then we saw later, he says the world equilibrium cannot be maintained forever, and it's time for a great cleansing. Like, he's been waiting since the Void Century to do this great cleansing. And that's exactly what he did on Naked Island with the Pacifista. So he's not just talking about it, he actually moves about it too, if you think about it. And even on Naked Island, when he's finally being neutralized from all the damage he's doing, look what it took. It took Sanji, a top Yonka commander. It took a worse generation in Jewelry Bonnie. It took 2 giants also getting involved as well. Those are four very prominent characters working together to take down Venus Juro. And I don't think he's even taken down. I think they just stopped him for a bit. And I always thought it was interesting how when Imo and the Gorosei are first interacting, he says nothing to Imo. And it just makes me think that Imo and Venus Juro might have a different relationship than the other Gorosei. Now, of course, this could be just jumping on the gun, but I truly believe that I wouldn't be surprised if it does get revealed. And then, of course, let's talk about the famous chapter where Gear 5th is actually revealed. He talks about how we failed after trying to get the Gomu Gomu no Mi fruit for 800 years. Just showing that he's still talking about the L's of trying to get Joy Boy's dove fruit for the last 800 years. Showing that he definitely had something to do with that Void Century battle. And I thought it was very interesting, his reaction to Zunisha leaving. He pretty much said that means that the borders are closed in Wano and are impenetrable. And like, this makes me think, like his bro's glasses are shaded. Like, I feel like he was about to go snap and go crazy in his home country Wano if Zunisha actually opened the borders. Like, he was about to go there instantly. We know the Gorosei now teleporting power, so there's that. And then later on, we see the Gorosei's reaction to Sabo being on the island Imu was about to destroy. From Saturn saying Alusha, to Mars saying really now, to Jupiter saying he's an unlucky man, to Mercury saying it's his fate. But Venus Juro just says, I see. I'm telling you guys right now, something's very eerily about this character. And I'm telling you right now, we're going to see more to come. And he seemingly looks like the perfect villain for Zoro. I've always thought, like, Miyagi vs. Zoro, it's a great fight, the world's greatest swordsman fight battle. But this is more exciting to me. And then later on, during the Egghead Island arc, we see Venus is all quiet until Cobra asks about the D. And I told you, he has a hatred for the D. And he said, Cobra says, what's the meaning of the D? And he says, why do you ask about the D? No Diddy. But obviously, he has a negative past with the D. So it might be yes Diddy for Venus Juro. Venus then talks about using Mother Flame freely. Just showing how he's just thinking about pretty much using it at no cost and how valuable that would be. And his title is the leader of finance, or what they would claim as the god of finance, is highlighted. And you think about it, Wano is the city of gold. He's probably the richest celestial dragon right after Imu. So definitely makes sense for his title he has there. And then when we finally see his transformation, he is a Bakotsu. Of course, that is a demon horse. Now, some people think the Gorosei do not have mythical zone delver abilities, that they actually just are mythical zones. But that's another topic for another day. And I do have a video on Venus Juro that I had planned, so this is not the only time I'll be talking about it. And I always thought it was cool how he was the first Gorosei to act on Egghead Island when it comes to all five of them being together. And his speed feats were crazy. I'm telling you guys right now, he's one of the fastest characters I've seen in One Piece. And I just remember when him low diffing the Pacifista, like people nowadays, people think low diffing the Pacifista is not that deep, but back in the days, we saw when Luffy and Zoro low diff and Sanji low diff the Pacifista, and that struggle they had pre-time skip, and them doing post time skip was truly showing how much stronger they got. So to see, of course, Venus Juro do it, it's still a feat to me. It just shows you that he is not no scrub for sure. And we see how he's low diffing them by freezing them with his sword. And he takes out multiple pacifistas are taken down by him. So it's not just one pacifista, he's taking multiple of them down. He's doing what Boy Hancock did, but on steroids. And then later on, we finally see him take out all the pacifista on the island. And there was a bunch of pacifista. And it looks like he takes them out, not actually destroying them, but actually just taking them out for a little bit. And Bonnie, he says that Bonnie is no more than a 12-year-old girl, and you gave her power. You gave her power to destroy entire nations. Your defiance is as foolish as it is insolent. That's what he says to Vegapunk. Pretty much saying that your defiance is retarded. Okay, let me change that word. Your defiance is stupid, but of course, it is also disrespectful. And I thought it was always cool that not a lot of people are talking about this, but Venus was low-diffing giants. The last time I seen someone low-diff giants that I can remember was Big Mom when she was a kid, and she went on that crazy Semla hunger, pain, whatever what you want to call it. And it makes me think about characters who also low diff giants in the past, like Whitebeard is always something that I remember. Him low diffing giants was so badass. So to see, of course, Venus Juro do it, to me was hype. And I thought it was cool how Venus says we won't lose our military might, and Tabani, and then Frankie goes to protect, and then Sanji swoops in and kicks the shit out of Venus. Now I do want to say this, drawing blood from the Gorosei. Remember, but we know the Gorosei have recoverable ability, regeneration, And Sanji says, he's talking shit, he's like, yo, just because you're old and senile doesn't mean we're not gonna go all out. You're just a pirate fight. So it makes me think about how Sanji might be even talking about something deeper when it comes to Venus Juro in the past fighting the Willa D members, and how the Willa D members were rogue, and you could even call them pirates, the fact they're going against these guys on the sea. That's another day. I told you, that's another video for another day I got planned. Venus then bites Sanji, so I thought it was cool that Venus immediately reacts to a top-down commander attacking him. He immediately goes and bites him, and Sanji can't get out of it on his own. He needs Omi and Kashi, these two giants from Nenny's lobby, to hold down Venus Juro. So I thought it was cool that Venus Juro is being treated like a Big Mom type character, a Yonko level character. He's not being treated as a regular character when it comes to his power. And then we of course see the giant Bonnie. This is a worst generation member at the end of the day, guys. So seeing Bonnie do these type of things is not surprising. And she goes on with her big feet and steps on Venus Juro. So it's cool to see that Venus Juro is being taken on by some formidable opponents. Now I'll tell you guys right now, Sanji is the strongest opponent he's been taken on by, and he did relatively good against Sanji. Yeah, he took some blood and everything, I kicked to the face, but he retaliated right away. So Venus Juro is seemingly looking like a Yonko level type character, and I just can't wait to see when Zoro comes in, because I believe Venus will get up after, of course, hearing Vegapunk's Void Sentry message and see Zoro in front of him with a striking resemblance to Shimotsuki Ryuma, and maybe even a Void Sentry Shimotsuki that has, of course, the initial D. Yes, that's my theory. And if Zoro's ancestor and Venus went at it, that makes it deeper when it comes to Zoro and Venus going at it. And I think he should body Zoro. He should defeat, I don't think fully defeat Zoro, but he should oppress Zoro, because it would only hype up the end of story battle after the One Piece is found. And that battle with Zoro and him could be really good. But if Zoro and him just clash, that also is cool. But I just don't think Zoro should defeat Venus Juro just yet. I think this fight should be a well-developed fight in the One Piece story.